Hey everybody, Grant with womenscollegehockey.org here. Hope you're having a good Monday. Today's October the 4th, 2021. We're answering your questions about women's college hockey in our video Mailbag Monday edition. So thanks for tuning in again. This week's question comes from Jim in Wisconsin. And Jim's question revolves around, the player that's in grade 11 that has made a verbal commitment to a program, and then the coach that you wound up making that commitment to departs, whether they resigned, they got fired, they didn't finish out their contract, but they have left and a new coach comes in. And the real question is, does that new coach have to honor the prior commitments made by the previous staff? So great first question. Second question Jim asks is it appropriate to ask coaches during those one-on-one recruiting conversations, how do they see themselves staying at the institution? What's sort of, their sort of long-term plan? How long do they see themselves there? Again, totally appropriate question. We're going to tackle number 2 first, a little bit more cut and dry. Then we're going to tackle number 1 about the new coach coming in and honoring prior commitments. There's a bit more to unpack there and a few different situations to identify and think about. So to question number 2, appropriate to ask about the foreseeable future and how long a coach may want to stay. Generally speaking, Division I coaches are on multi-year contracts. And when somebody takes over a program, again, generally on average, coach takes over a program, that new contract is probably 4, maybe 5 years in some cases. At the Division III level, you really don't get a lot of multi-year contracts. In fact, a lot of coaches aren't even full-time employees. A lot of those jobs are part-time. So I think it's rare, although not unheard of, but I think it's rare for a Division III women's hockey head coach to be on a multi-year contract. Most of them are just like sort of scholarships at the Division I level. They're 1-year annual renewable employment contracts that are re-upped at the discretion of the department and your athletic director. But nonetheless, I think your question is well-intentioned. You want to find out, what's the coach's plan? Do they want to, are they going to spend 5, 6, 7 years there? Are they just, kind of a one year stop and go kind of thing? So asking is certainly appropriate at any level, at any school that you make a commitment to, no matter what the division. I think the question that you probably want to ask at the Division I level is, how long is your contract term length for, and how many years left do you have on it? I don't know too many coaches that are going to say, hey, you know what? I'm just thinking this is a 2-year gig and then I'm out of here. That's it. Enough for me. 2 years and I'm out. I don't think anybody's going to say that, but you will get answers like, I have 2 years left on my contract and I know your daughter's coming in 2 years from now, and I want to get renewed. I want to get another contract, and coaches are going to be honest, but it's a totally appropriate question to ask, and it does get asked quite often. So that's how I think you can handle asking, what's sort of the plan and how long a coach may want to stay at an institutions for. Getting to question number 1 about becoming a new coach and dealing with prior commitments, and what's sort of has to happen. So there is no NCAA rule that stipulates an incoming head coach has to honor the prior staff's commitments. And there's a few situations that coaches walk into when they take over a program. Number 1 is, if you're at a scholarship school, new coach comes in, they get hired, they're in year 1. You obviously have the incoming freshman class that was recruited by the previous staff. They've signed all their scholarship paperwork. They're ready to go. Additionally, you also have schools that don't subscribe to the NLI scholarship, like the Ivies, and a few additional schools outside of the Ivies that just deal with need-based financial aid. They don't have scholarship paperwork. And then there's, the incoming freshman for that first year as the coach takes over. And then you have situations where there are players that were recruited by the previous staff who are not incoming as freshmen. They might be seniors for that new coach's first year. There could even be some situations where the old coach committed a player entering grade 11. The timeline would have to be super, super tight just based on the new rules of communication that went in a year or so ago. But those are the three scenarios. And, I think whenever a new coach takes over, there's definitely a conversation they have with their administration about how do you want me to handle commitments? What am I allowed to do? What are my stipulations from the institution? That conversation absolutely happens. And I think one of a few scenarios takes place. The school says, you're not, sorry, Mr. Smith, I know you just got hired here, but you're not going to decommit anyone. You're going to honor all the previous commitments that we have on file or that we are aware of. And that's just the way we operate. And, best of luck. The other scenario that takes place is, Mrs. Smith, we just hired you to do a job. You manage your program and manage your commitments how you see fit. Don't break any NCAA rules. Keep me in the loop as to your communication with parents and players as to what you're going to do, and I'm here for your support. Just communicate with me, let me know what's going on, but we hired you to do a job. Go ahead and do it. You have to do what's best for the program. I think more often than not, that scenario number 2 that I just described is probably more often what happens. But there are institutions that could have a particular opinion and they don't want to deal with maybe some negative backlash or, some of the negative things that could happen when, coaches decommit players. So they might have a policy in place and it's something that they just may not do. And, that should probably be asked by the head coach during the interview process to find out, how they handle that type of stuff. But so anyway, those are the three scenarios. In addition to that, I think often when a new coach takes over, they're going to reach out to commitments from the previous staff, and the new head coach is going to communicate, what their plan is for either keeping them or perhaps an evaluation period and making a decision later. But I think that communication between the newly hired head coach and the recruit and the family is vitally important. And, if your daughter's committed to a school and a new coaching change happens, I would sort of have my ears up a little bit to keep a watchful eye and ear out for communication from the newly hired head coach so that you can have that conversation. Coach is going to, I think, communicate with you guys about if a timeline is going to be made on a decision with you. Maybe they want to watch you play. Maybe they're not familiar with you as a player. Maybe, at a really competitive academic school, they want to evaluate your academics a little bit more. Whatever the case may be, communication is going to happen. And what you want is a timeline of when the coach is going to make a decision. Because if things should not go in your favor and the coach isn't going to keep you around, you have to be able to make some decisions and you have to be flexible in order to, find a home at a school that you like and a program that wants you. So those are some things to think about. Those are the situations that occur. On the scholarship side, there are some dates that the NCAA does, sort of put in stone, such as, if a scholarship that somebody has is going to be, canceled or reduced or not renewed, and there's a certain criteria of, what can happen, what situations arise when scholarships do get, sort of taken away or canceled or not renewed or reduced. But July 1st is the date that students have to be notified by the institution if that is a decision of the head coach and the department. August 1st is a date when the last time a recruit can sign a national letter of intent, the NLI. August 1st is the last time that can happen. If it's after August 1st and a scholarship happens late, players aren't actually signing an NLI because it's past the date. What they wind up signing is an offer of athletically related financial aid from the institution, which everybody has to sign anyways. But so those are some of the key dates. And again, going back, those are the situations that new head coaches have to deal with. Again, the important thing is the communication from the head coach to the previously committed recruit and family, and allow them some time to know what the new coach's situation is and how they feel about him, and what their plan of attack is moving forward. So Jim, thanks for the question. Comes at a good time. Lots of coaching changes and lots of conversations that probably happened prior to the start of this year. So Continue with your questions about women's college hockey. These are great. We'll get them out on Mondays for you in this format. You can email us at womenscollegehockey@gmail.com. You can tweet at us via our Twitter account. Use the hashtag Mailbag Monday. Twitter account is at WMNSCOLL Hockey. And we'll keep the questions answered and keep them coming. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.